Hello, and welcome to the Tavern Chat Podcast. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor at the Tenkars Tavern blog. Discord server, MeWe group, Facebook group, Twittering, Instagram, YouTube at youtube.com/Eric, ERIK, Tenkar, TENKAR. We, every Wednesday night, Bad Mike and I from North Texas RPG Con, we do a live chat. We enjoy interacting with the community, and we'll try to have a special guest each week. So we shall see how that works. Now, we are sponsored, and this episode of the Tavern Chats podcast is brought to you by Frog Guy Games / Necromancer Games, Orcus on 34th level. Available exclusively on Indiegogo, whether you play Swords and Wizardry, 5e, or the now resilient Pathfinder. And let's be honest, Paizo is doing their best to beat Pathfinder like it's a dead horse, because they need Pathfinder 2 and Starfinder to be the moneymakers, but Pathfinder refuses to die. Orcus is waiting for your intrepid party of adventurers. Go to tenkars-tavern.games /Orcus and pick up your copy. Your party will curse you. Now, as I've been saying, if you do want to check it out, and I would advise you to do, it looks pretty good. And they intend to have it shipping by Christmas. PDF definitely by Christmas. Please use the link. I will include the link in the show notes. But tenkars-tavern.games /Orcus, ORCUS. It allows Frog God Games to know that I sent you. And if you do back, go into the comments and, hey, say Tenkar said to say hello or some shit like that. It can only help. All right? Your support is invaluable. So what do we have today? What is the cat that's being let out of the bag? Well, they say, what's it? Good things come in threes, or is it death comes in threes? Also in hockey, right? 3 goals is a hat trick. Well, we're at 2 right now. And what are we at 2 at? 2 lawsuits against Wizards of the Coast. First one, Margaret Weis, Tracy Hickman, for breach of contract. Right? That was pretty big. And it was interesting to read some of the details on that one. Of course, we'll probably never know how that plays out. But there is a new lawsuit against Wizards of the Coast. And this time by Gale Force 9. Gale Force 9 is a licensee of Wizards of the Coast. Here in the States, we mostly know them for their painted miniatures and high-end stuff, right? It looks really cool. They do some DM screens for D&D 5e. Well, they are suing Wizards of the Coast for in excess of $950,000. I feel like I should be doing Dr. Evil. $1 million. Just about. To complaint for breach of contract, breach of implied duty of good faith, and fair dealing, declaratory relief, and injunctive relief. Wow. All right. Now, a little background on my end. I woke up to a PM from one of the longtime taverners who happens to be in the legal profession, and they sent me a link to the basic filing. With that, no details. Hey, maybe you can look into this. And I posted about it on the blog and said, hey, this suit's filed. I don't have access. Apparently, you got to pay to get access to get deeper. Then another taverner, another member of our community, saw my post, read it on Facebook, and was like, hey, I am in the legal profession. I think I can get this for you. And sure enough, they did. And it's a huge document. It's 51 pages. The relevant lawsuit aspect is like 9, but there are attachments, and those attachments are interesting. I'll get to that in a second. So, what happened here? Well, Witches of the Coast, you remember with the Weis and Hickman, the Dragonland saga, basically what it came down to is that Witches of the Coast was saying, hey, we're not going to end the contract. We're not going to invalidate the contract. We're not going to put ourselves in a position where we violate the contract, but we're not going to approve anything that you present to us going forward. And we're letting you know we're not going to approve anything, so don't bother writing anything. So you're like, I guess if you're Catholic, it's like limbo or purgatory, or where the unbaptized babies went at some point. I guess that was limbo. Well, they were putting Dragonlance and Weis and Hickman into limbo. So, what did Wizards of the Coast decide to do now? Well, this isn't cut and dry, and none of this shit is ever cut and dry. It's not like TV where it's like, oh, I can see how the lawsuit's going to go on some no. Or where's the big twist? No. The big twist is, seriously, what it comes down to is Wizards of the Coast is looking to end a contract that they extended, but mind you, and they're looking to end it. And there's it's more than one kind of contract, because it's a contract or an aspect of the contract that deals with the painted figurines and accessories that they do for the licensing, under the licensing of Wizards of the Coast for D&D 5e. And then there are translations of the product in other languages like Korean and French. These are big things that come up in the lawsuit. So there's different aspects of what Wizards of the Coast is trying to do. When it comes to the licensed physical product that's being sold here in the States, and I guess in English-speaking countries, or probably everywhere, but it's just basically stuff that we know about here in the States, they are no longer approving releases. A work that was done prior, I guess, for an American release, now is going to be updated, and the packaging is going to be translated into French or Korean or whatever language. Wizards of the Coast is withholding their authorization. They're not approving. They're not flat out denying, but they're not approving, from what I can read. I could be wrong. I am not a lawyer, and this shit's confusing. Here's the other aspect. There were problems in the French and Korean market. And the Korean market, apparently, Wizards of the Coast accused Gale Force 9 of hiring a company that was, I guess, did a shoddy job of translating. However, Wizards of the Coast had in-house Korean translators, or hired translators, to read the translated copy, and they gave it their approval. So I don't know how you can fault Gale Force 9 if Wizards stamped it. But that's part of the reason why Wizards wants to back out. But Gale Force 9 says they fixed the issue and are in compliance. And then there's the French issue. And apparently the French issue is interesting. The French issue, it appears that Gale Force 9 sublicensed, I guess you would say, the French license to another company, who then sold Dungeons & Dragons under their own trademark, not D&D, which would be or could be an issue. So if you want to read the contract, go to tenkars-tavern.games. That's the blog that goes along with this podcast. and go to the post for today, Thursday, November 19th, 2020. The second post is the one where I literally copied the PDF, my copy paste, and put it into the blog. So these aren't screenshots. I have screenshots to show the first page and the last page, but this is a readable version of the text. You can see and read the lawsuit for yourself. But in addition to that, see, that's not the only game that's going on in here. In addition to that, they also include as attachments. Now, these are scanned. They're not going to be easy for me to do a copy and paste. I don't think I can do a copy and paste. Or maybe if I... Now, I don't think if I scan them and then try to do an OCR on it, it'll work. I could try. But in any case, they include a Dungeons & Dragons localization guideline, Hasbro Global Business Ethics Principles, and the Merchandise Licensing Agreement, which goes back to 2005. So, now there's talk that quite possibly what's going on here is it could be between the two things. It could be COVID-related, and Wizards of the Coast is trying to, in the world of COVID and shrinking profits, is trying to pull back on licenses, keep stuff in-house. I don't think that's the reason here. It could be that Wizards of the Coast is looking to maybe produce their own material, or think they gave away too much for too little a price when it came to the licensing agreement. Again, I got to do a deep dive into that licensing agreement. I have not done it yet. It was enough to even partially absorb the lawsuit. But it is certainly interesting, the whole thing that is going on. Now, what else we have here? Here are the exact, and I think this is from the lawsuit. I personally think this to me is the favorite part. Wherefore, plaintiff Gale Force 9, having set forth the above fact and having alleged the above first to third causes of action, prays for judgment against defendant Wizards of the Coast as follows. Judgment for monetary damages against Wizards in an amount to be proven at trial, and which on information and belief is in excess of $950,000. An award of attorney's fees and costs incurred by Gale Force 9 in prosecuting the foregoing claims against Wizards. For declaratory relief, finding that Gale Force 9 has not breached the 2017 agreement for the breaches alleged by Wizards in its November 9th, 2020 notice of breach. So, like I said, here's Wizards trying to get out of another contract. All right? For permanent injunctive relief, restraining Wizards from terminating the 2017 agreement for the breach of contract alleged in the November 9th, 2020 notice of breach, for any other costs, including interest authorized by law, and for such other relief as the court may deem just and equitable. Yes, Hasbro has skilled and expensive lawyers on staff. I don't believe that Wizards expected a suit. I really don't. I got this feeling that there's some disconnect between Wizards and Hasbro. Or, now this is something I actually, if I was a betting man, and it's something you could bet on, I'd probably put a few bucks on it. It seems to me that Wizards has had a time frame where they were acting as their own company under the umbrella of Hasbro. And now it seems that Hasbro is coming down with a we decide what contracts are signed. We decide how these things play out. Taking it out of the hands of the amateurs, the gamers. It's going to be suits. That's what I think. It looks like this is suits and control. Hasbro is is taking away what little self-direction Wizards of the Coast currently has, especially for D&D. Now, that might mean that there is a monetization of D&D coming in the near future. I say near future, next year or two. And maybe we got a high-end movie coming out, or maybe it's going to be Netflix or Amazon. I have no evidence of the above. I'm just looking at the bones thrown in front of me as we try to find reason for the events that are going on. Folks, as always, we are in the midst of a pandemic, so use your common sense. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Go to the show notes if you need links to either Orcus on 34th level or to the text of the lawsuit at tenkars-tavern.games. I'll put links to both in the show notes. Thank you so much. Big, huge shout out again to both the taverner that gave this dog a bone this morning and to the other taverner that allowed me to feed on this roadkill. Or, I mean, not roadkill, but you know what I'm saying. All right, folks. God willing, I'll talk with you all mananas.